In the middle of the fields they met the parson, and when he saw the procession he called out, "Shame on you, you naughty girls, why do you run after a young fellow in this way? Come, leave go." With this he caught the youngest by the hand, and tried to pull her back, but when he touched her he found he could not get away, and he too must needs run behind. Then the sexton came along, and saw the parson following on the heels of the 3 girls. This so astonished him that he called out, "Hi! Sir Parson, whither away so fast? Do you forget that today we have a christening?" And ran after him, and caught him by the coat, but he too remained sticking fast. As the 5 now ran on, one behind the other, 2 laborers who were returning from the field with their tools, came along. The parson called out to them and begged that they would set him and the sexton free. No sooner had they touched the sexton, than they too had to hang on, and now there were 7 running after the simpleton and the goose. In this way they came to a city where a king reigned who had an only daughter, who was so serious that no one could make her laugh. Therefore he had announced that whoever should make her laugh should have her for his wife. When the simpleton heard this he went with his goose and his train before the princess, and when she saw the 7 people all running behind each other, she began to laugh, and she laughed and laughed till it seemed as though she could never stop. Thereupon the simpleton demanded her for his wife, but the king was not pleased at the thought of such a son-in-law, and he made all kinds of objections. He told the simpleton that he must first bring him a man who could drink off a whole cellarful of wine. At once the simpleton thought of the little gray man, who would be sure to help him, so off he went into the wood, and in the place where he had cut down the tree he saw a man sitting who looked most miserable. The simpleton asked him what was the cause of his trouble. "I have such a thirst," the man answered, "and I cannot quench it. I cannot bear cold water. I have indeed emptied a cask of wine, but what is a drop like that to a thirsty man?" "In that case I can help you," said the simpleton. "Just come with me and you shall be satisfied." He led him to the king's cellar, and the man at once sat down in front of the great cask, and drank till before a day was over he had drunk the whole cellarful of wine. Then the simpleton demanded his bride again, but the king was angry that a mean fellow everyone called a simpleton should win his daughter, and he made new conditions. Before giving him his daughter to wife he said that the simpleton must find a man who would eat a whole mountain of bread. The simpleton did not stop long to consider, but went off straight to the wood. There in the same place as before sat a man who was buckling a strap tightly around him, and looking very depressed. He said, "I have eaten a whole ovenful of loaves, but what help is that when a man is as hungry as I am? I feel quite empty, and I must strap myself together if I am not to die of hunger." The simpleton was delighted on hearing this, and said, "Get up at once and come with me. I will give you enough to eat to satisfy your hunger." He led him to the king, who meanwhile had ordered all the meal in the kingdom to be brought together, and an immense mountain of bread baked from it. The man from the wood set to work on it, and in one day the whole mountain had disappeared. For the 3rd time the simpleton demanded his bride, but yet again the king tried to put him off, and said that he must bring him a ship that would go both on land and water. "If you are really able to sail such a ship," said he, "you shall at once have my daughter for your wife." The simpleton went into the wood, and there sat the little old gray man to whom he had given his cake. "I have drunk for you, and I have eaten for you," said the little man, "and I will also give you the ship. All this I do for you because you were kind to me." Then he gave the simpleton a ship that went both on land and water, and when the king saw it he knew he could no longer keep back his daughter. The wedding was celebrated, and after the king's death, the simpleton inherited the kingdom, and lived very happily ever after with his wife.